Question. What do you mean they should have applied when it was open? You said they should have applied when the position was open?
Yeah, the other citizen board member slot was open for a long time before it was filled by Miss Mobley. And so if you wanted someone else there, you could have put them in that spot.
Okay, let me clarify that. Position was not actually, let's see, what's the word for it?
It was vacant for quite a while.
But we didn't advertise it as we actually should have gotten out there.
And why didn't you?
Why didn't we? I'm not going to blame anyone for it, but it was not. And that was the reason why that we wanted to get out to see if there was anyone else who was interested in being on the CRA. And I see when you said that your interest was the Heritage Park and you wanted to see the change with the CRA. CRA changes basically, I've checked the CRA. They changes quite often. The people at the state level changes CRA quite often. So the changes do occur within the CRA. So they're not just the same. People come and go on the CRA board, even at the state level. So this is why I'm saying knowledgeable. All you have to do is go there, you attend the meetings, and you attend other meetings, and they place you on boards to learn what about the CRA. And as a matter of fact, if you were, you were there at the last CRA meeting, they talked about doing away with the CRA. There were some people talking about they were fighting to keep the CRA, and some of them saying they want to do away with the CRA. So there's lots of changes that's going on with the CRA right now. So I disagree with you about the fact that you need the same person on the CRA forever and a day, because there's changes that goes on all the time with the CRA, and that's my thing. But I think that perhaps maybe you said you've been on it for how many years? You've been with the bank for 25 years, and I don't think you've been with the CRA for 25 years. Okay, but
How long have you been?
I nominated her when I was council person. I remember when Bruce Tillman, when we selected him, and Matt Scott, they were two great guys. I think they were standing there. I nominated Bruce. Both of them were great. I'm sure Ms. Reddish should do a great job. You've done a great job. It's not rocket science.
But we still haven't got
Let
the
them
number of years.
let them have a say and then vote on it. I mean,
6 years, anybody? The question was, how many years?
6 years. I don't know, 6 or 7.
I came back to Live Oak in 2012. I think it was maybe 14 or 15.
Maybe somewhere in there.
I've been to maybe 9 conferences.
So you've been on quite a while.
I've been on for a while.
Okay.
So I've got a lot of knowledge of what's gone on previous to other people, other councilmen being added to the board.
can you tell us something that you know about that goes on the CRA? Can you tell us anything that goes on the CRA that we don't know, so maybe to help us?
Well, the CRA is in place to remove slum and blight from the community and to make sure that everything is looking good and you're taking care of your community. We do a lot of grants for people with facade grants and all that kind of stuff. There's a district that is set up when it was started, and that district can't be changed. And I know that that's a contentious option, because you have to create a whole new district to start a new CRA, and that's something that has been looked at and talked about several times, but you can't change the CRA district that's in place.
So that's general knowledge. Okay, thank you. You're great. Thank you, Ms. Cindy. I know I might sound like a hot dog, but I'm sorry.
The next item.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Alicia Reddish. Address is 203 East Howard Street, Live Oak, Florida. I'm an active real estate agent. So I guess my passion would be for development for the city. I did not realize that Miss Cindy still wanted to be part of this board, and I feel like she does have the experience where I coming in do not, as far as the procedures, going to conferences and so forth. I do share the same passion though of the growth of this city and also the beautification of downtown, inviting the Heritage Park, all the facets of that, as well as the housing. I mean, I have been here since '82, so a little over 42 years I've lived in the city. And I've seen a lot of changes, and I still want to see more changes. So yes, I have coming into this fresh eyes, but I feel like, you know, if Cindy is wanting to continue, then I would consider that. I can be available to come to these meetings. I'm the type of person, I do my homework. I don't just come when I get an agenda. I read it and I research and am ready for anything that I'm involved with. So, didn't really realize I was going to be put on the seat tonight, but that's okay.
I know that's hard. We appreciate it.
So yeah, I mean, I share the same passion. You know, I'd like to see growth for the city. As an agent, you know, there's a lot of things that we don't want to happen that we do want to happen. What I mean by that is some of these neighborhoods around here that are not necessarily pleasing or offer affordable living for people or allow people to want to come to our city. You know, I get a lot of feedback from new people that have bought property here, and they talk about how inviting Live Oak is, the city of Live Oak, when you go downtown. You know, I like to feel proud of where I live and what I share in the community. So that's what I can offer.
Let me say this, to fair to any applicant that put in for these boards, or as if you've been there for years and done some things, there's always a first time for anything that we do. Because people not here to live forever. Someone has to take over from the next era or the next person. And then you have to have a learning process. That's why you have all these conventions, going out and all these same training. I'm going to training for city council and all that. I've never been elected city councilman, but I go to these trainings. And the same thing anybody else. Your first time on a board, being on a board, then you have to learn the process. And so it's not difficult to learn. It's there and everything's there you need to learn. So for as you've been there on the board and all of that versus being new, I just don't see any difference in that to a certain extent. I'll put it that way. But all right, that's it for me.
Thank you.
Before you leave, I have a question. Okay. My thing for asking the questions you was asking me about being on the board, was that they wanted to know what could you bring to the city of Live Oak if you were on the CRA in the district that the CRA is. How and what could you do to enhance the area of the CRA as far as the businesses downtown? What would you do? What would you?
Businesses downtown and projects that are
Yes.
kind of in the works. Helping, meeting, communicating about it, and figuring out the solution to move forward with things that, projections that we want to see happen for the city. You know, no, I did not know. I knew about the CRA board, but it wasn't until we had the situation with the sale of the property that led me to start researching. So with that being said, you know, driving around the plans of the park by the railroad track, the fellas came and they talked about the storm drainage and all this. And I actually looked at that plan and you know, I would like to be a part of that. I'd like to see it follow through. Again, I would like to see people to be proud and have options to be able to walk on this heritage park, you know, have all the things for them to bring their family to recreational, so forth. Generating revenue for the city as far as having the vendors come and have a good place for them to be able to set up. You know, one place that stands to mind is High Springs. They have an awesome, awesome venue for businesses to come with the food trucks and so forth. You know, I think that's great. I would like to see it happen, but I know that there's, you know, a lot of construction that needs to be done, a lot of infrastructure as far as the drainage, because we do have a drainage issue here, and it's kind of sporadic. So you have to figure out how you're going to re-divert some of that water.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we were two applicants, I guess we're going to take nominations.
Off the motion, we're gonna make a motion, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So I offer a motion that we continue on with Ms. Robinson. She still wants to remain on the council.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second.
and we have a second. Any further discussion?
I have discussion. My concern, my discussion is that Ms. Robinson, if she continues to be on the board, that she needs to be to the meetings, that she don't miss any more than so many meetings that we have. This should be a stipulation with Ms. Robinson, she's going to continue to be on the board. That's one of the issues that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Those are already controlled.
Control, yeah. That's how they are.
I think there's, I don't remember the number. but
Right, there was
that's
three.
within the policy.
There was 3, and that's the reason why the people were questioning her about her being on the board, because she got missed.
I don't think she has.
But how many, they were concerned because of how many meetings she had missed that year, or whatever. And that was their concern. You know, of course, you won't miss 3 meetings right behind another, but then I'll come to 1 meeting and then I'll skip to 2 more, 3 more. That was their concern. And Cindy, I love Cindy to death, but that's the concern, that you need somebody up here that's gonna actually, gonna work for you. And that's their concern. I mean, if I wasn't up here doing it, you know, you'll be blah, blah, blah. But that's the concern, and I love Sydney to death, but Sydney, is she going to be, the question is Sydney going to get on the board again? She's been here for a long time. It's more than just going to the meetings. It's being active on the board, and that's what I'm concerned about. So we're voting, right?
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor for Ms. Cindy to remain on the board? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
2. It's a 3-2. Motion carries that Cindy continues on the CRA. Thank you. We appreciate both of you guys, you know, willing to serve the city like that. And, we definitely appreciate that. So. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 5A. Mr. Jefferson?
Get back to mine. Okay. Thing was, I was talking with JL, Public Works guy, concerning sidewalks, and not only in District Number 2, but in District 1, but all over our district. And I was talking about for as money and budget and all that, but I would like to see in our budget a plan of $35,000 for each district, which would be about $175,000 set aside, maybe $180,000 set aside for sidewalks in each one of these districts. And sidewalks help beautification of it. I've looked at all these districts as far as sidewalks, and they're badly needed. But having the funds and having the budgeting problem and the issue. But if we can get in our budget, set that type of money aside for our budget, about $180,000, so we can do improvements. Because I know over by the where we vote at, where the county commissioners at, that's why sidewalk there is a little hazardous for our seniors and all of that. If that could be done, I think we looked at that when we had Mike here. He and I went by there because someone brought it to my attention. It's not even in District Number 1's district. But I think, and then I hope my fellow councilman would agree that we just have a budget at least for $35,000 for each, or $40,000 for each district to have set aside for sidewalks. So that's my discussion on that. And so if we have any rebuttal, I'll be glad to hear from my fellow council members.
I don't have a rebuttal, I'm just thinking that that would be something that we would possibly discuss, maybe one-on-one with Mr. Sessions, and then in the budget workshops, perhaps.
Yes, I'll make
Exactly, that's,
Yeah.
we have the budget coming up.
Okay.
I'm inviting each one of y'all next week to come see me one-on-one, and then we'll have a workshop after the fact, just to let everybody know that the amount of money that, that is, 1 mil in this city is $182,000. So it would be actually using basically a whole mil to budget that much. I'm not saying we can't do it, but I'd like to look at the things we need to repair first and move forward. But next week, when we get back from everything, I know I've already scheduled Ms. TC for her meeting. Y'all will get with me individually. We'll discuss the budget and everybody's wants and needs and see what we can do to make all this work.
Okay, is that?
But I hope my
I wrote it down.
co-hosts, yeah, I hope my co-hosts, hosts here would pretty much agree where, I mean, if I come to you about the same thing, then right now I'm trying to,
Well,
make sure
you're giving them an idea of
Right.
things to talk about.
Exactly, okay.
Right, so my only thing would be is that when we start talking about sidewalks, we already discussed this about the areas, how we're gonna do the sidewalks because of the way the property.
We have, there's a lot of things to look at when you
Yeah.
start doing sidewalks. You
Wait a
worry
minute,
about
I'm not-
driveway,
Hold
you
on,
gotta worry about property lines, we gotta worry about all
But we're gonna do
Mr.
that.
City Manager, I'm not talking about property lines and all that. We're talking about existing sidewalks
Oh,
that
yeah.
are torn up.
Oh, yeah, we definitely need to.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that we don't have a sidewalk there.
Okay,
But
good.
I'm talking about those that are cracked up and the city's not looking like it should. And we just got to interviewing these two young ladies about the beautification of our communities.
And
And I just think it would help out our communities.
we need to improve the ones that are messed up, and,
Right.
all those things can do is just cause issues. People can trip, fall, all
Correct.
kinds of issues.
Correct. And I got several over there where I'm at. Folks have to walk on the road because walking on the sidewalk is a puzzle and a danger. So that's what I was trying to, hopefully my fellow city council will see the same thing. We're just trying to make sure every district gets some money that we can do some things to improve that. All right?
Okay. We all right with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 5B, Ms. Owens?
Right, my concern is that how and what could we do with side that we have parking just on one side of the street downtown. We're coming from downtown Live Oak. It is, we're coming downtown, the parking on both sides of the street. I've noticed since the summer, people are traveling US 90 tourists and they're coming through. And parking, finding a parking space anyway is very difficult here at the city. But if we had parking someplace else and people can only park on one side, that'd give people an actually, you could walk the sidewalks and you could, work your shops. People can come into your shops. But your shops are hidden because of the fact that the cars are blocking. The cars are parked and they're blocking the people, your businesses. So if they blocking your businesses, then they could see your, they could see your business. Because when I take like this, when we go, we'll go park someplace in little towns, and we get out and we walk the different little shops and things. And I noticed several times that I've seen people gotten out and they're walking and see whatever. And that's one thing I would like to see in the future, that perhaps that we could do something in regards about the parking downtown so that people will stop and honor the shops downtown. Because people are doing that now.
I think if we had signage by the railroad tracks, that people could park there, that would be awesome.
That'll give you a chance, because if you're going to go into Florida, you're going to go into your shop, there's no place actually that you could actually park to go and look and browse. If you're coming from town, but that's the thing, locally we can do it. We know how to where to park. But that thing is that you're parking in front of their businesses, and people don't see the businesses, they don't see the different shops downtown. And there's plenty of things that there actually would stop to, the antique shops especially, people stopping in. So maybe we want to consider that in our future.
Well, if I may, 3 weeks ago, I had the DOT here, and we discussed parking downtown. Actually, I have a meeting tomorrow with the DOT at the county office about signage and things like that. So JL and I will be at that meeting tomorrow, and we'll be discussing more with the DOT, because anytime you do anything on 90 or 129, that you have to involve the DOT. So we'll be talking with them tomorrow.
Yeah, and you got to tell them about 90, for them to start working on 090. Thank you so much.
Okay. Item 6, Mr. Sessions.
I've got quite a few things, but we'll go in order of this right here. Discuss with possible council action resolution 2023-13, a resolution authorizing appropriation of utility reserve funds in the amount of $37,000 for payment of new utility infrastructure. We got a grant from Water Management to help improve the flow on Maple Street, and the cost was a little bit more than the grant took care of, but most of it was taken care of by the grant. So I'd like for y'all to approve the resolution to spend the $37,000 to finish out the cost of the Maple Street improvement.
Okay, you've heard staff's recommendations for the continuing the grant that we.
Yeah, I'll offer a motion to approve, offer a motion to approve resolution 2023-13.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion?
Yes, this $37,000, Mr. City Manager, is it coming from budget? Is it coming from another grant or reserve?
I'll let Mrs. Joanne answer that.
I'll clear up. Good evening,
Good
Joanne
evening.
Winter, Finance Director.
All right.
The project is completed.
Mhm.
We made the commitment to match the grant funds and complete the project. We budgeted to utilize the reserve funds to help fund the project. The resolution is more of a formality. It's necessary, but the reserve funds are your impact fees that you collect from the new growth, and it's limited to use for improved flow